Hello and welcome to the Comicspiracy episode 605 for the week of Monday, January 15th, 2024. My name is Ryan Higgins, who's here with me this week.
Brock Sager.
Kevin.
10-second break for to insert Toby here later. And Lane.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, let's see. I don't know if we get Toby on 3 in a row. That seems pretty unlikely. Hello, everyone. We're back. Sorry, man. Is this like our first like normal episode in like 2 months? Normal recording time, normal day, normal topics. Like, yeah, like back to basics here. What has been going on?
Well, we just have to be consistent, and then we'll be good. But
well, consistent at least.
Hey, we tried.
Yeah. By the time I ended up getting the one last week up, it was like, I don't know, a couple days ago. So you guys got 2 episodes pretty quick back to back. That's okay, because that was our sort of like wrap up episode. And now we're talking more comic news and random stuff. Back to normal. How's everyone? Everyone doing good? Good start to the year. Good new year. It's already mid-January, so time's flying.
I mean, I've had 2 weeks of school so far, and one is a 4-day week, and the next one's going to be a 4-day week. So
that's great.
No, it's not.
3 days in a row.
You try to get students back to learning after being on break, and then give them a 3-day weekend. Yeah, it's like
yeah. Well, they don't care. Yep, we got some comics to talk about, some new stories. We'll go through this. Again, some of this is still catch up from Christmas and December and stuff, but just things we didn't talk about. And there's like, nothing's happening in January, so quiet as far as new news. But I think I ended up. Didn't I get some Aquaman and Captain Marvel numbers? There may be 1 or 2 more things I'll throw at the end here, see if I can find them. As we're recording, anyway, this came out, again, shortly before our break, but we didn't get to really talk about it very much. And that is officially the X-Men is coming back July 2024. At the official announcement of the when the end of the Krakoa age is, and a new X-Men editor, Tom Brevoort, who's moving over from Avengers after 25 years or something. Is that right, Kevin? I think 20-something years, over 20 years, taking over the X-Men line. So there hasn't been much. There's the X-Men Free Comic Day, which I think has Gail Simone listed. I can't remember who else was on that. It was the Gail Simone, David Marquez. So that's part of the Blood Hunt X-Men Free Comic Day book. So it seems likely that she'll be involved with that. Jed McKay is also co-writing it, but he's doing the Avengers book. So I'm assuming that's he's writing the other part of it. So yeah, it seems likely that Gail Simone's going to have some involvement in the X-Men, which is cool. I mean, she does good with team books, and it'd be a seemingly different tone from what they've been doing recent. But I don't think there's been, unless I've missed something, there hasn't been any other announcements of any other X books. I mean, July is still a ways out. We're not going to really know anything till April, May-ish. They'll start to kind of get everything announced, but
they have to finish the fall, right? And then they have to. That's going to take like 3 months, and then they're going to do the aftermath.
There's the X-Men Forever miniseries coming up, so I think that's kind of
a bridge,
the tease is From the Ashes, X-Men From the Ashes. So.
Yeah, that's not a little on the beat.
If anything can reboot the X-Men back to normal, it's the Phoenix Force. So
because that did real wonders with AVX.
And she'll just wipe out the universe and restart everything back to normal. So good old Phoenix. See, that works. It's great. We'll go back to playing baseball, fighting the Mutant Liberation Front. It's great. It's good stuff. So I know we're definitely. I am as I've said for months and months and months on this podcast, I am just in a complete holding pattern on the X-Men, where I'm just like, well, let's just see where the reboot comes. Maybe I'll start back up because, yeah, my interest in X-Men zero. But you know what's funny? Unrelated, not really. I mean, it's a news story. I guess it's a news story. It's worth talking about here. The sales and reaction to Ultimate Spider-Man 1 this past week. I don't know how you guys have been paying attention to this at all.
I paid attention to the solicitation that was confusing as all hell.
Speaking of Jonathan Hickman, the solicitation for
Ultimate Spider-Man number 1.
Yeah. What was confusing?
It was like, is it Ultimate Universe? Is it not Ultimate Universe? Like, what is the? Because they weren't really giving very much because Ultimate Invasion was still going on,
right?
And so stores were like, huh?
There was definitely a little bit of confusion into what exactly was going on here. I think you should stop calling it Ultimate Spider-Man. You should start calling it All-Star Spider-Man. And I think you're much more on the line of what you're looking for.
Well, this is technically Ultimate Spider-Man but it's a what if, right? What if Ultimate Spider-Man didn't get bit when he was a kid? What if Ultimate Spider-Man got bit when he was married with kids?
Yeah.
Like, it's a what if ultimate story.
Well, when the Ultimate X-Men book got announced by Peach Momoko, I said, okay, these are not all the same. These aren't connected. She's going to do something very, very different, very unrelated. I mean, who knows? Maybe there'll be some crossovers or whatever. But this is very much a standalone, complete new story. And Ultimate Spider-Man, it ended up being exactly that. It was complete reboot, not just of the Spider-Man concept, but the timeline and the character, and no relation to Ultimate Spider-Man, the original series, at all. In fact, I kind of think, like, if you were a kid, if you were younger and Ultimate Spider-Man was one of your first books, you're now an adult, and this Ultimate Spider-Man is for you. This is now like the 30-year-old Peter Parker gets powers for the first time, right?
Everybody,
whereas it's not the 50
says, "Oh my God, he's with MJ, amazing."
Yeah, I mean,
he's had kids. Like, this is an amazing story.
Yeah, the big a big fan complaint has been since One More Day and the whole magic divorce of Peter Parker and Mary Jane and and all this nonsense. Which is, but it's I think for the most part, most Spider-Man books since then have been pretty decent. It's only really recent. There's an absolute lunatic fringe of Spider-Man fans out there that are out of their mind and have been pissed at Marvel for a decade. Spider-Man fans are the absolute worst. I mean, X-Men fans, I think, have just been so beaten down that they just don't care anymore. That family fans are a bunch of weirdos, but it's been okay, I think, for them mostly. Spider-Man fans are out of their fucking minds. And I don't know if this is the movies. I don't know what the deal is. Spider-Man fans online have completely lost their mind. So clearly some of them like the married Peter, but it's like, I don't hear that in the store. Not really. It's Spider-Man sales have always been fine. I just don't think the book's been very good. That's different.
The thing, I heard that from somebody today. And they said that it's because, like, they're excited about it because that's something that's in this book, right? It's not. It's not that they hate Spider-Man. It's not they're hating on Spider-Man. They're just like, finally we get because One More Day was how long ago?
It's like 10, 12 years ago or something at least. Yeah, no, I don't. Of course, some people want that. Some people prefer that, but it's not like Spider-Man sales are terrible. It's like they're just always the same. They always are what they are, and they always sell really well. But the online community for Spider-Man has been out of their mind for a while, and extremely angry about the state of Spider-Man. So it's this. Hopefully this book works, and hopefully they like it. It's not the real Spider-Man, but it's hey, it's hopefully it's a good book. Hickman, tends to not stick around these days, so I don't know what his long-term plans are. Who knows, where this goes. And as we've said on previous episodes, when the the Ultimate Universe gets as confusing as the regular universe. Things happen in a much quicker pace. I don't know what their plan is here, or if this is just going to be like a 12 issue and done, standalone, one-off series. So we have no clue. At least I've not read or heard anything that talks about the future of it. So we'll see what they end up doing. But it's it's good that there's some everyone's like, oh, comics are dead. It's like, no, people we're not excited about anything. This has gotten people back into the store. There's an excitement about Ultimate Spider-Man, this series. The reviews are good. I think, and I've said this for a long time, comics' biggest problem has not been quality. It's been marketing. Word just does not get out there. Social media is dead, right? YouTube is full of negativity. Nobody likes anything. So it's hard for, this was a rare book that cracked through all of that and got people to be positive about a comic series, which is great. And hopefully it sticks around. So yeah, people were coming out of the woodworks. We sold out pretty quick by Thursday or by Friday. And then all weekend I had people asking for it. So, who will stick around? How many people come back for 2 or 3 or 6 or 10? Who knows? But it's good. It's good. It's some positivity. We'll see if it keeps going. I think. It's funny too because a lot of the Spider-Man books have been aimed at I think they're trying to get a younger audience, but this was like a rare case of like, oh yeah, we have a lot of 30-year-old fans. Let's give them a book about a married adult 30 plus year old person, and it is like a weird kind of maybe understanding of who their audience is. I think a lot of those kids that came in from the MCU clearly were not going to transition to actually buying the comics on a regular basis. So this might be some kind of conscious decision by Marvel to say, hey, oh yeah, it is mostly adults buying our books. Let's give them one and see what happens. And hey, here we are. So, it's interesting. We'll see where it goes.
See how many variants are on issue 2.
Marvel's cooled the variants down a bit, not as much as they probably should, but yeah, it's tough, right? With number 2s, if you sold out on number 1, I don't really have a good number on my on what to order for number 2 for Ultimate Spider-Man. I feel like it's going to be, over-ordered in a lot of shops because a lot of people won't come back, and there's always a little bit of speculation buzz, and so we'll see what this ends up being looking like by the time we're done, but it's okay. It's good. It's good. Anyone read it? Because I read the preview copy that we got, obviously, 3 weeks ago or whatever. But we sold out. Kevin, you didn't pick this up. No.
I haven't been in since it came out. No.
Yeah. I didn't think you ordered it. So, we'll see.
I actually read it.
See what happens. Yeah. Did you like it, or thought it was okay?
I thought it was a good story. It's one of those weird. It's the Ultimate Universe, but I know you hate this term, but it's rejiggered. Because,
but it's not. I mean, it is. It's its own.
It's Peter if he never got bit. Because
but that's not the Ultimate Universe.
No, it's the Ultimate Universe one. Because the maker went back and fixed it so that he didn't get bit. That was the whole thing out of Secret Invasion. Because they gave this blurb in the beginning that says what Franklin or the maker is doing.
Ultimate Invasion.
Yeah, and he goes and he basically stops all of these things from happening in the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah,
and you get whatever happened out of that, where Ultimate Iron Man dies or something. I don't even remember. But but that character continues into this, and it's basically Peter gets bit when he's in his late 20s, early 30s. So it's a delayed Ultimate Universe in a way.
Right. That's what I mean. It's not like all the other series happened in here. There's no Miles Morales. There's no Peter Parker as Spider-Man as a kid. And and Peter.
This is a different branch from a point in the Ultimate Universe. It's branching.
Yeah, when Peter died, he was still a teenager. He was still a kid. So this would be, and that would be, still modern day. So that's why I mean, it doesn't line up. It's not like they just. You don't have to read all the Ultimate Spider-Man stuff. The Ultimates, you don't have to read that. Right. That's what I'm trying to say.
You know,
Yeah, it's a
good
different thing.
It's a good jumping on point for people. But again, it stems from the idea of what if Peter didn't get bit?
Right.
And this is the ultimate Spider-Man Peter. What if he didn't get bit? Because this is the universe we're dealing with.
Yep.
Because it was manipulated by the Maker, who still exists from the Ultimate Universe. But that's when you start getting into that stuff, you need to stop.
Yeah. I can imagine that'll be a big part of it.
But I enjoyed the first issue. It was Hickman, so I was like, okay, cool. Like, you got stuff going on. Like, we'll see where this goes. Ben's alive. People are like, ooh, spoiler, sorry, but
yeah.
I think I think Hickman is definitely playing with. He knows the audience that he's writing the story, not necessarily for, but he's writing a Spider-Man story he knows the audience will gravitate towards because of the things that they care about. So, whether or not that continues past his run or however long he's going to be on this. But, Brian Hitch's art is also amazing as well. So, there's a lot going for the book out the gate.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it.
Yep. No, it's good. It's good.
And then I have no idea
All right.
The Tobias read it.
I imagine not. Yep. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Future of Ultimates and Spider-Man. Good to have a hit book for Marvel. It's been a while. It's been a while since they've had some buzz behind any of their titles. See if it keeps up. Lane's here for one particular reason, because we hear
because Lane is cool.
Oh, he is. But we don't, this is not a regular topic here on the podcast, but we do, talk about the collectible end of comics regularly. And we've talked occasionally about some of the nutso prices comics have been paid for, especially through like Heritage Auction and some of the big auction houses and eBay. And obviously a big part of that has been CGC, the company that does the comic grading and encapsulation, third-party verification of comics and the condition. And Lane, a few weeks back, came to me and was like, "Hey, have you heard about this? There's some funky stuff going on with some CGCs, some graded comics that are getting like people think that there's like some scam going on with it." I'm like, "Nah, I didn't really hear anything." It's like, yeah, I'm sure stuff happens all the time, but like, I don't know. Who knows? This just feels like some kind of internet chatter. Well, after about a day or two, this blew up to be a real, legit, crazy story. Lane is our CGC pro. He's the most tapped into the. Well, you are the most tapped into this market for sure. So I would love a great little breakdown from you on exactly what happened. I have some notes here, but for those that don't know, a little explanation of what CGC is, in case you've never seen them or used them. It's a third-party verification company, and they have them for cards and video games and all sorts of nonsense now. But comics and cards are sort of where this started. And the company basically takes your book and gives you a grade 1 to 10 with some variations in between, and says, one's, a 0's bad, 10's perfect. Again, I'm being very broad here, but and then there's all sorts of breakdown of grades in between. Puts them in a plastic, let's call it a slab, plastic slab, encapsulates it, seals it so it can't be removed, puts a little grade on it, sends it back, and some high grade books end up selling for multiple times over other raw copies that have not been graded. And CGC's been around for decades at this point. They've been around for 20 years or more, and there's a couple other companies that do this now, but there's occasionally been some funk when it comes to grading where people are like, "Oh, these grades don't look right," or, "Oh, there's some, but it always tends to just kind of be these little one-off, non-important incidents. Nothing that really hit like a real, like a real problem. There's been some concerns with quality occasionally, but as CGC ramped up, someone took advantage of a massive flaw and loophole in their system to scam unknown amounts of money, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. I don't even know what the price is. I don't know if anyone's put a dollar amount to it yet. And it's really starting to come apart at the seams. No pun intended. Lane, why don't you tell us about this CGC stuff? Give us a little background here, and I'll fill in some more comments, some casual details as you go along.
Yeah, and for people that want even more details, they can look up on YouTube. Like probably some of the biggest ones that have been covering this topic are Swaggle House. Automatic Comics is one of the people that found out a lot of the extra details. And it all started on the CGC forums themselves, where apparently they basically were looking at some recent eBay sales, and they found that some of the, if you actually look up the slab numbers, they were being repeated in the registry, and people didn't understand, like they were questioning why are these numbers being repeated.
Yeah, so when you get a book graded, there's a unique identifying number on the top of the barcode, and it's like a barcode on the book, on the slabbed book. And we use this, right? Well, I don't grade a lot of stuff, but we'll get stuff graded occasionally, and I put them on eBay. And yeah, just as a reference point, we put that number on there so people can look up that book on the CGC registry and say, okay, this is the condition, this is all accurate, yada yada yada. Get graders notes and stuff like that.
Does that also give time it was graded?
Yes, I believe so.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's in there. I think it tells you the grade dates and everything like that.
I think the only thing it doesn't say is who sent it, because that's private information, I think.
Yeah. But any like the information it has is like what the grader said, when it was when it was graded and stuff like that.
It didn't used to, but they do now. All the graders' notes are public.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And then also the other thing to know about how this worked is they have a separate service called a reholder service, which was originally meant for basically because over the years their slabs have gotten better and better. They've changed how they're designed and how they're made. So for people who had older slabs that like the original slabs from 20 years ago that look completely different, the idea was to allow people to take the older slabs, send it to CGC, and they would be able to just take them out, put them into the newer version of the slabs, and send them back to you for a cheaper price than a full grade. But the part of the thing is that they're supposed to look at when you send it in, they are supposed to take a look at it. And originally their claim was, on the website, the whole thing is if once the slab leaves our location, then we can't guarantee any grades. But for some reason on the reholder service, they would say, okay, as long as you send it back in and we don't see any evidence, so to speak, of damage to the holder, then we can reslab the holder without regrading it and just use the same label.
All right. So if the holder was actually damaged, there's fear the book could also have been damaged, so it would have to be regraded.
Well, no, not necessarily, because some people would say, like for example, another example of reholdering would be people who got damaged, like if they got it in shipping, yeah.
Right.
Back for reholdering without changing the grade as well. But that's also once again, this is just part of how the scam kind of works. Is apparently people found out, and this is somewhat public knowledge. People have figured out how to do this, and there's a couple of YouTube videos on how to do this. Unfortunately, that unfortunately the CGC slabs are basically based on 4 weak points and are supposed to be their anti-tamper-proof mechanism, which doesn't work very well if you use a heat gun. And people have managed to open the CGC cases, slip books out, put new books in, reseal them, send them back, and claim that they're going back for reholders. And part of the biggest part of this scam involves a buyer who would buy good CGC books, 9.8, 9.6 of a big book like Hulk 181 or ASM 300. He would then also buy another version of a lower grade, like a 9.2, 9.0, of which they could either be, a lot of them were restored grade, so they weren't, not even, blue label, and they usually have an extra feature such as like Mark Jewelers inserts or newsstand, and he would swap the books and basically...
Real quick, just so everyone's on the same page here, right? I mean, so the difference between a 9.0 or a 9.2 out of a 10.0 versus a 9.6 or 9.8 can be thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in price difference. Things like the Mark Jewelers insert. This is kind of one of those funky variants where it was I believe the Mark Jeweler inserts, they were additional advertisements for certain Marvel comics that would go into books that went to army bases, military bases, right? And it was just this other company that dealt with Marvel distribution, newsstand distribution for a while, specific to military bases. And like the newsstand copies, yeah. If you ever see like a comic from the 80s or 90s with like the little Spider-Man hit in the corner, or like the Captain America shield, those are the ones that would come to comic stores. The ones with the barcodes would go to newsstands, and they were significantly fewer. They would get damaged a lot more easy. So if you have a newsstand copy, it is theoretically rarer in higher condition, and some newsstand copies have sold for a premium even over the same grade of the same book. So these are like funky variants that are getting replaced with normal or lower grade copies. Mm-hmm. So you start to see where the scam comes in.
Yeah, and Mark Jewelers are like 1 in 1,000 kind of the newsstands, so it's pretty rare. So yeah, they would slide in. Basically, they would substitute books into the nicer case, send them back to CGC saying, "I need a rehold or something happened." But they would be able to close the case so it doesn't look like there's any damage to it. And then they would also say, "Hey, by the way, you," because also part of the thing was back in the older, especially if they had older cases they were using. Some of the older scams use the older cases. They would say, "Hey, this is back when you didn't note newsstands or Mark Jewelers editions. You need to recheck this." And you could just look through the case and say, "Oh yeah, that's a Mark Jewelers, that's a newsstand," and add it to the label. Which meant that now, they're submitting a 9.8. That is, first of all, the book inside is not actually 9.8, but because of Mark Jewelers, they just update the label without changing the grade. So now you've got a nice 9.8 Mark Jewelers version of the book in a slab that shouldn't be.
And the interior book is not.
Right.
And you still have that real book, which you can then resubmit, get graded again, and sell for a premium if you want.
They resubmit that one, and they crack that one again for another book, and the process keeps repeating.
Right. But you still get that original, but you still have that high grade copy as well, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. You keep using the original high grade to keep getting new slabs to reuse for this scam.
Yep.
And basically, at least one guy got caught, or it's an eBay store that got caught. That now they've done the detective work. There's 2 other eBay usernames that are applying to this. CGC had to put out a huge notice. They just, in the end of December, they put out a list of up to 300 books or 300 unique IDs that they're saying, basically check your books. If you are any of these 100 or 300 IDs, you might have been scammed. And they are taking, so to speak, they claim they are taking full responsibility. But so far, as far as I've heard, no one's actually been able to get anything yet. They're just kind of getting the runaround. So we're still waiting to see if anyone's actually going to get paid out for this, or what's going to happen for turning in one of these. But once again, these 300 are only from that eBay, those known eBay sellers. People are pretty sure there's a lot more. Plus,
there's others.
It's a major reseller that used to go to a lot of New York markets, apparently. So he has more than these. It's more than those 2 guys that are part of that eBay company.
Right.
So people are worried that there's at least more than 2, just even associated with that one guy or one company.
Well, and you can also, if CGC ends up saying hey, if you bought an auction of one of these scammed books, we'll pay you back. The ability for me to put up a fake book, give Brock money to buy it on his eBay account.
Hey.
He gives me the all you're out is the tax. Yeah. You then submit that to eBay and say I got scammed out of all this money, and they refund you and they've doubled your money minus tax or whatever you're giving the guy. Or you know what I mean? Or you have your own multiple accounts to buy this stuff. So eBay is going to be real careful with this because they could be out millions and millions of dollars.
It's not eBay. It's only CGC. eBay is
CGC. I mean, CGC could be out millions and millions of dollars on this.
Yeah. But the word is
Yeah.
that, they have money because they got bought out recently. So, and their reputation is really at stake at this point because.
Well, that's the bigger problem, right? I mean, the CG, like a lot of these markets, CGC exists because there's faith in CGC. When we saw this with video games and VHS tapes and a bunch of people during the pandemic tried to make these things happen, grading these as like these big ticket items. You saw Super Mario 3 go for like $1.2 million or something like that. The problem is those are complete scams, right? The scam here is you basically had people buying their own grade product to create a market. No market goes from $2,000 to $1.2 million in the course of months. It just doesn't happen like that, right? Comic books and sports cards and even Pokemon cards, select Pokemon cards and Magic cards and things like that, and definitely Magic cards. Comics and sports cards specifically have nearly like a literal 100-year history of increased prices over time. And there are points where it goes up and down, but there are millions, billions, hundreds of millions of sales. At this point, it's got to be billions, right? I mean, how many times have people bought old comics? Hundreds and hundreds of millions, right? That have circulated through time. And you've seen these prices increase and decrease and go up. So there is a huge track record here of the history of the price of these books. And I'm not saying everything's perfect, but but you have some basis of comparison.
Well, also
even with Magic, and
you're tracking these things, especially like with comic books, and you see like why is this spiking right here? Oh, well, that's spiking because a movie came out or a TV show.
Yeah.
Right. There's some factor that causes it to bump because now there's more eyes on it. But
and with the older stuff,
and then it comes back.
Yeah, and with the older stuff too, sports cards and old comics. I mean, the market has been so researched; they know where these copies are, how many. They didn't know where they are, but they know how many are out there. There's not this treasure trove of 9-8 copies of Action Comics #1 sitting in someone's garage. We're pretty sure. There could be, I guess, but it's so unlikely, right? Now, when it comes to the more modern stuff, yes, are old sealed video games worth some money? Yeah, absolutely, but not millions, not hundreds of thousands, right? That was a complete scam. Certain Pokemon cards, definitely certain Magic cards are worth big bucks, but very few, right? But when they started like, oh yeah, we're going to grade VHS tapes in video games. No. There is no market for those. There is the actual sales history on that stuff is the raw video games, open video games, even the sealed ones have a sales history, and these graded ones completely were out of line with any raw copies. VHS tapes, I mean, a couple maybe worth a little bit, maybe thousands in perfect condition, but that's it. Not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. So these markets are complete bullshit. The thing with CGC though is it did have
from My Little Mermaid clam shell.
Yeah, right. That was the whole thing, right? All the Disney movies. No, they're not. They're not worth anything. They're like some of the most mass produced VHS tapes of all time.
Something because it's a little phallic on there, but
Yeah. So what CGC has here is, it wasn't like day one these things started going for a premium over the raw copy. It took a little while for the prices to start really going high, but it especially for older books, it's almost like a verification system. The guide is always kind of funky, but CGC, the graded books, they will, modern stuff goes for quite a bit over. But that's usually because of the process of grading. The older stuff, I feel like the CGC price has almost become like the default price. It's like the raw copy is less. The CGC copy is the default
because
price
it's already
on.
Gone through the process, and you don't have to bother with that, so you kind of know what you're getting, which is what baseball.
Yeah,
cards, right. I remember collecting baseball cards and seeing seal or graded Mickey Mantles sealed like stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, okay,
yeah. Anything worth 5 digits, 4 to 5, thousands, 2 tens of thousands plus. are being graded at this point. So few of those are being sold raw. It's almost like not even. It's like not the market, right? If you have a book worth over a couple $1,000s, it's like they're not selling unless they're graded. So few sell raw. So CGC's almost become like the default price on these books. And if the faith in that goes away, because you can have scams in raw books, right? Ungraded books. You could have restorations. This was a big deal for a long time, right? Where they would do some touch ups or people would replace pages. There's stuff you can do with raw books, but CGC kind of pretty much is able to catch that stuff. But that's a ton of work. Like restoring a comic correctly so it's undetectable by a normal person is a lot of work. Cracking a case on a CGC case and flipping some labels really isn't. So this is a big deal, and they've got to get this correct real fast.
Especially with the way DC's doing their variants right now. Woo-wee.
Who's doing it?
DC, the way they're doing their variants.
Oh, well, with the second cover over it, I mean, that would only affect modern stuff, and that's nothing. I mean, yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell that anyway.
Yeah, that wouldn't matter. Yeah, the biggest thing is
no, it's for old stuff. Yeah,
and they really need to fix. Like the big thing now is there's a call to change the slab, obviously, because now that it's so easy to crack and change, how can we trust any slab now? And that's kind of the next big question is. How many people are going to continue to trust this, and who isn't?
The crazy part to me is that the interior, the
Mylar thing, yeah.
Mylar, right? The interior Mylar is not stamped with the barcode.
Nope.
That would not. I mean, basically solve it. I'm sure there's ways to fake CGC labels, maybe, or something. I don't know. I'm sure there's some other way they could figure it.
Oh, you know what? But they need their shiny CGC like Dynamic Forces.
They have that. They have that. They have that. That's on all the books.
Holding the Mylar down.
Oh, yeah, right. I mean, they're right. There needs to be something on the Mylar inside that the comic's in that matches the barcode on the label, and I think that enough would solve a big chunk of this problem. But it's a weird situation, and I think there's still faith in most CGC books, and I think if you're a single time submitter and you hope that most stores are selling this, and there's not a problem. I'd be curious what CGC prices have done in the last 4 weeks, right? I mean, have you seen a massive decline in sales, especially on the high-end books? It's possible, right? So, it's not going to happen for mid-grade stuff. There's not really a point to do it for the lower grades or the cheaper stuff. It seemed, I mean, I guess you could, but it just doesn't seem like it'd be worth it. But I don't know, maybe it is.
Yeah, you do it to low levels, so really pays attention.
Yeah. Well, of course, right. If you're going to do it, you're not going to do it for a couple $100. You're doing it for tens of thousands, right? It's If you're going to do it, you're going to be.
Yeah, and also kind of begs the question of why is CGC not doing any quality controller or checking on, for example, one account somehow reholdering like hundreds and hundreds of books versus, and also submitting the same, like how are they submitting 9/8 copies of like ASM 300, like 150 copies of the same book at that quality? It's like you have to question something there.
Yeah. You feel like reholdering would be a massive trigger, and again, if it's a big dealer and they're dealing with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of graded books and they're sending in 100 books a day or something, maybe just sort of, well, okay, whatever, we'll just run this through. But it does feel like that should be a big red flag.
Yeah, at least on the big books. I mean, I'm sure. I think this company probably does hundreds of books a week, but they're sending in moderns,
Right.
But these old ones should still kind of raise a little bit of a red flag with how many of them there were.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just down to a wait and see at this point to see how many people will continue to trust CGC.
Yeah.
Will CGC actually pay out? We're still waiting to see if anyone will do that, and what other recompense people have. Like, are they actually going to prosecute the guys that did this? Because
I mean,
there's still that
CGC should. That is fraud.
Well, even then, anyone that did eBay, technically, that should be mail fraud, right? Because you're sent with the mail.
Yeah, cross state. Yeah, I don't know. That's a federal offense. I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean, that seems like a big problem.
Yeah.
And
not to mention, I don't know if they've done the checks on checks reholding on beyond just this group. Like, if you go back beyond history, I'm sure there's more people doing this beyond these people that haven't been caught. And, that begs to question more accounts. And, well, in general, people, one thing they have to change get rid of reholdering. Like, I think they just need to get rid of reholdering and just say, sorry.
Entirely.
It's just a new grading. You pay for the new grade, and we crack it open, and we regrade everything from now on.
Yeah. They have to. Don't know. Big scam. Big problem. We'll see if it affects the comic market and then in the next in this year. See if CGC sales dip dramatically. I expect they won't, but you never know. And it could be almost right. I mean, if they come out tomorrow and they're like, it's actually 40,000 books that have had this happen to. Okay, then we suddenly have a very different story, and the entire market collapses overnight. Because if you're putting out the guys paying 5-6 figures for the highest end stuff, if Heritage starts getting involved and they've been auctioning off, books like this, that is a very different story. So let's see where this goes. Yeah, it'll be very interesting. You know what's not very interesting? When things go in the public domain and people make bullshit out of it, like all this fucking Mickey Mouse shit. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so boring. It's so stupid. I'm a corporate bootlicker. I want corporations to own everything forever. I don't want to see your goddamn Mickey Mouse horror movie. You suck. You're pointless and useless. Your video game sucks. Make something good and make it yourself. And don't use fucking Mickey Mouse. Don't drag Mickey Mouse through the mud, you idiots. But you know what happens? Do you know what happens in 10 years?
Yeah, Batman and Superman are going into the public domain, but that's the earlier versions of them not.
Action Comics #1, Detective Comics 27. Gross. I don't want your shit. I don't want your terrible Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and JSA fanfic. I don't want your stupid Batman horror movie that you're going to put on YouTube or TikTok or whatever the hell exists in 2038 or whenever the hell this happens. Get out of here. I hate this. I hate all this.
I don't.
No.
I think it's fine.
No, I hate it. It's stupid. People, the worst. It's the public domain always ends up bringing in the lowest common denominator garbage.
The funny part is
now
bring up Disney as an example, and Disney did this with everything that was in the public domain before and made it its own.
Now, right, and that's the difference. That was then. This is now. Now everything sucks and everyone sucks. And they're not trying to make art or anything good. They're trying to make bullshit and scam people and make as much money doing as little work as possible, and trying to be ironic and trying to be, shocking and trying to intentionally go out and ruin good things. That is what people do now. That was not Disney's plan. They wanted to take public domain things and do good stuff with them and introduce these to new audiences. You want to do something good, make a all ages, long running, make a real Disney comic or film. Make a good Steamboat Willie animation that's nice and fun and well animated. That's the challenge. Not your shitty horror movie. Not your stupid ironic postmodern Mickey blah, blah. You could have done that anyway. That's just parody. Like half the stuff you could have already done, you just can't call it Mickey Mouse. You just couldn't call it Steamboat Willie. But you could always have made this shit. People have always done it, right?
So I shouldn't send you a premiere invitation?
The Toby's Mickey Mouse horror movie. It's so embarrassing. Like, and I, Neil Gaiman has gotten into it with people online about like, there are some people that are thinking like, oh, stuff should just be like public domain, like the day the author dies, or like 20 years later, and that's lunacy to me, because these days 20 years is like nothing. Harry Potter would be public domain.
No.
You think that's going to happen? No.
Public domain is something that is a respectful amount of time, right? Like, and I think that's where the argument is coming. When is respectable amount of time? If you're looking at a
time,
if you're looking at a single creative person, right, who owns the thing, so you make something and it is yours, right, and your estate owns it for a period of time, much like The Great Gatsby, right? You are able to make money off of that for you and your descendants for a certain period of time. The problem comes in corporations where they're going to make money and they want to make it for a longer period of time. Where, let's be honest, does anybody care about Steamboat Willie anymore? No. It is.
Yes, fucking Steamboat Willie is great. What are you talking about? It's the start of every Disney movie. It is like the corner piece of Disney animation.
I have a Lego set of Steamboat Willie.
That's great. But the general populace does not care about Steamboat Willie in that sense. They care about Mickey Mouse, the current iteration or whatever iteration that they were introduced.
Let me tell you what my feeling is on this. Okay. Steamboat Willie is Mickey Mouse. These are not two different things. This is the short is called Steamboat Willie. He is still Mickey Mouse, right? Okay, here's my belief. You create rando character X in 2037. It's not successful. Kind of nothing comes of it. No company buys it. The last cartoon is in 1941. You pass away, your family doesn't want it, nothing's been made for 50 years, 60 years, whatever the time frame is, right? Public domain, not a problem. I have no problem with this. If you create a character and you turn, like Bill Willingham attempted to do, and you turn and you say, you know what, I've made this character, I am giving it to the public domain, you are free to use this character however you want. Perfect. I have no problem with that at all, right? No problem at all. If you create Mickey Mouse and 100 years later, the same company is still using Mickey Mouse and has never stopped using Mickey Mouse, it should not enter the public domain. Batman, Superman, the Joker, Captain America.
Okay, quick question.
The
company itself create Steamboat Willie?
Did the Walt Disney Corporation, the company that is today,
did the company make Steamboat Willie?
Well, companies cannot make anything.
So
I mean, it was created by Walt Disney and
by a human being, not a corporation.
Correct.
So
Correct.
A corporation owning a copyright for that long, because a corporation can't really die unless somebody really wants to kill it. Twitter.
I mean, they can.
They can. But in the
if your corporation exists for 100 years and you produce something nobody cares about, you should keep that. You've sunk so much money into keeping this thing, then you can keep it. Corporations absolutely can die. If the company goes out, the company goes out. The corporation's dead, right? If the Walt Disney Corporation died tomorrow, then yes, 90 years or whatever, whatever the law would be, sure, then Mickey Mouse enters public domain because no one would care. Right? That's the problem. People still care about these characters. I do not want to see any of these characters enter public domain. I hate it. As long as the company has continued to make these characters relevant. This was unheard of. That's the whole reason why public domain exists. Because it was like, well, these things just sort of disappear, people die. That's not the world anymore. So for me, we've had 90 years of Superman and Batman. I don't want, just because some time has passed now suddenly, no, who wants that? Like, what do you want that for? Because there are a lot of comics from the golden age that are in public domain because the companies failed, the comics were irrelevant, nobody cared, nobody kept them up, and nobody kept publishing them. So yeah, all that public domain, no problem. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, JSA, Captain America, the Human Torch, Namor, I don't want any of that shit in public domain. Not unless Marvel or DC go out of business. So,
Now,
because
Are you?
they've
what
continued
is-
to become.
What is
What's
the
that?
Well, the thing is what you want them in control of that product
of the character.
because They
Yep.
Okay, I get it, but you're limiting the creative growth of your populace by limiting who has access to it. The best Batman story out there is probably hasn't been written because somebody can't write Batman, and
Cool.
DC's not
Fan-
greenlighting it.
Fanfic exists. Parody exists. You could do whatever you want. You can write every Batman story you want as long as you don't make a penny off of it. What does it matter? If it's the best story, what does it matter if you're making money? That's not the point. All right. If you're just talking the best story, you can do that.
If there's no,
you can make all the Batman fanfic you want.
Is not to make money, then it doesn't matter if the corporation has the copyright.
But it's the point of the corporation to make money, right?
No,
I want the controlling
Artists
party
also,
to.
but you have to look at the artist as well.
Well, any of these people that created these characters are long, long gone, right? The company owns the products. The products have never stopped existing. They've always continued. So there you go. If you create a character and your kids inherit it and they write the comic or make a cartoon or movie and then their kids inherit it and do more, you want it just to be suddenly stripped away from your family? No. I mean, look, corporations suck. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not here to defend big corporation about owning up all these IPs, but they'll abandon them if at some point, and it doesn't really matter because you just make more stuff. You make your own thing.
Is Disney not allowed to make a Mickey Mouse thing?
Of course they can, but you were talking about now there is confusion in the marketplace from these fucking if they were making quality products, I might say okay, well maybe Disney should just come in and buy this and try to figure this out. But it's all garbage. It's all shit. Show me something interesting and I'll say you have an argument. But it's not interesting. Nobody does interesting stuff with public domain shit because that's the point. It's cheap and they can do whatever they want for nothing. Public domain DVDs and Blu-rays, they're all low budget. They're all just out money grabs. They all suck. The public domain characters that all the comic companies grab, they all suck. There's just nothing interesting about them. That's why they're in the public domain.
Sucks.
No, Steamboat Willie's incredible. That's why it shouldn't be in public domain because Disney still does stuff with that character.
So all of Shakespeare is dumb.
Again, if the Royal Shakespeare Company had kept this thing forever and wanted to keep doing plays and putting out manuscripts and books and all this shit since his time, I would say no. I would say you keep it. You can base your story on Shakespeare. That's at worst parody. At best, it's you're not physically. The world would be okay if we didn't have Romeo and Juliet by Baz Luhrmann. I hate that fucking movie.
The movie's not bad.
No, I hate that fucking movie.
Leo.
But wait,
So-
the difference with the Shakespeare stuff is those are plays that are meant to be remounted,
Right.
reproduced, new versions,
Right.
new takes as time went on. That's what they're designed for. So don't lump Shakespeare in. It's a little bit different because those were always meant to be a
Yeah.
public event. But so Ryan, wait for the Kickstarter anthology of Golden Age Batman stories by
So
amateur creators.
So there's a company. I think it's Story Thomas. Like his company, he has a company that they basically just take scans of the PS art books, right? I think it's called. They take scans of old Golden Age comics and release high-end prints of it. That's awesome. That is a cool high-end, like hardcovers and slipcases and stuff. That's awesome. That is what this is used for, right? I'm okay with that. When these books go in the public domain, I would, trust me, we've said multiple times on this podcast, I would love to get that Batman before Batman run of Detective Comics, but I would not want that if it meant giving Batman up to the public domain. Because very quickly, and it's going to be a shit show as more and more characters get into this. And I mean, I have to just assume most people won't do anything with it. You're going to get a bunch of nonsense right away. But I can't imagine too many people will do stuff with it. But I just hate it. I just hate the whole concept of it. Again, you want to grab fucking, I don't know, is Rima Jungle Girl? Isn't she public domain at this point? There's got to be, right? I mean, I feel like Marvel did something, or DC did something, and then it disappeared again, right? That was an old Golden Age character. Hey, shit like that, yeah, go crazy. Do whatever you want. Yeah, whatever. You want to make a Tarzan book? Can't you do something with Tarzan? Isn't there some
you just
parts of Tarzan? And
I think you can't call it Tarzan. That's why that
is that what it is?
Like that Dynamite book is Lord of the Jungle.
Yeah, and like Shakespeare, and then like Sherlock Holmes, right? Like what was that? Like but again, some of it's still under like an ownership by like
some of it is
some of it. Yeah. So like I don't. It's been some okay Shakespeare stuff, sure, but like you can still parody it and you get the same thing. I'd miss Shakespeare in Star Trek: The Next Generation, or Shakespeare, Jesus, Sherlock Holmes in Star Trek: The Next Generation. That was pretty good. But
parodying something
Moriarty,
parodying something that's already owned by somebody, you can still get in trouble for. You shouldn't.
Depends on what you do,
right? But you're like, there's been plenty of lawsuits against people who are doing things.
Oh, there's going to be plenty of lawsuits against people doing public domain stuff, too, because they're going to fuck up. Oh, just these lawyers must be sitting there, just ready. Oh, I love it. But I can't wait for the lawsuits to start.
As soon as you make a Mickey that's not the one that captained the ship.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be glorious. So
right underneath you.
So many people are going to get sued. It's wonderful. I love it.
If Detective 1 through 26 was public domain and just some rando found some nice copies and scanned and released a hardcover, would you buy that?
That depends on the quality, I guess, right? I mean, again,
it's nice quality.
Yeah. I mean, it's a. There are positives to things being in public domain. Sure, I understand this. To me, it does not outweigh the negative of the confusion of characters. Things like Shakespeare and Sherlock Holmes and Frankenstein and all that stuff. They've been in public domain for everyone that's alive's lifetime, right? I mean,
and that's the thing. Things keep coming in. It's just this is stuff just coming in like normal.
But but it's not. It's not though. That's the difference.
Horrible. Guess what? There's horrible fanfic now. There's
I know
stuff, and
they don't need to change it for the fanfic. You can do all the fanfic you want.
The good stuff rises to the top.
Yeah, it's none, zero of it is the problem, right? I
think you're more scared when Donald Duck goes in the public domain.
Oh, but again, it's all going to be bullshit. I'm not really scared. It's all going to be nonsense, right? And that's the problem.
But again, it's opening up potentially to
Yes, it's not.
Well, I mean, wouldn't this basically just come down to brand loyalty?
Yeah.
Basically, like DC just keeps making Batman books, but no one's going to be going out there to buy like Dynamite's Batman book when there's a DC book, right? Like they'll look at it and be like, Dynamite, or like Zenescope's make a Batman book.
But that's where we start to run in.
Right.
That's where you start to run into those brand confusion problems, right? I think it's different with Tarzan or whatever, because those are things that there is no. Tarzan is just Tarzan. Batman, Superman, Mickey Mouse, Captain America. These are characters with extremely strong brands that have lasted nearly 100 years, tied directly to the company that has owned them basically the entire time. And the variation.
And what is going to derail that? Some idiot making a bunch of knockoffs in some in another country selling a action figure. I've seen the images online. They look dumb.
Doesn't
it's a quality issue. You're worrying about something that is such a minute thing.
No, it could be big when you consider merch, because all the merchandise money they make off Batman is now up in jeopardy because, one, they can no longer pull the license on people. People can make whatever they want without asking DC anymore, and DC doesn't have to get a cut of it.
It's going to have that purple glove in those early appearances, right? Doesn't it have that purple glove in that first book or two?
But again, that's the thing you talked about earlier. It's not all of Batman. It's only this specific Batman. Because remember, these characters have gone through transitions. These characters have gone through their natural changes through the courses of time and being in this.
All the early
grew up with is not the same look exactly as the one today.
No, all the early Superman public domain books have to be about him fighting corrupt landlords, or I'm going to sue, or DC's going to sue you, right? It's like you got to fight gangsters and landlords. That's who Superman fought, right?
They have political comic books again. Woohoo!
Although on the bright side, with it going to public domain, does that mean? I'm assuming you still have to cite the original creators, but with that going into public domain, does DC no longer have to pay Finger and Kane's trust fund?
I don't know, right? I don't know. And Siegel and Schuster, right? They have the agreements with the families for all the Superman products.
Right.
That they had that big lawsuit where
I think that's where it evolves with the character, right? So their arrangement is whatever evolved from that character. The company will say, "Oh, that was the character. We're done paying you because corporations are evil and all they care about is profit." Not people.
Yeah, but are the people in public domain going to pay Siegel and Schuster's family and Kane's family?
You just said it, they're public domain,
but they're not, right? So
it's public.
Yeah, the question is, once they are public domain, what happens?
Yep, that's a good question, Lane. I didn't even consider that. Yeah, I didn't even consider that. Right, it's going to suck, is all I'm saying, right? Because Disney's still Disney, and Disney's family still has ties to Disney for the most part, and it's still at the end of the day kind of I don't know, just all his immediate family is long dead, so it's like the people at the Disney Family Museum, I don't know how much they have involved with the actual company, but but all the comic creators and their families and stuff are going to get screwed. It's going to suck. And do you want? Yeah, fucking Zenescope already publishes a bunch of garbage. They had some book did I order today from Zenescope?
The Art of Zenescope. God, that thing looks
something in Houdini. Was it Holmes in Houdini?
Yeah, whatever.
It's like
but that's the thing. Zenescope runs with things that are public domain, and they do what they want with it, and they have a niche. And it's trash to you, but some people like it, and if some people want to pay for it, some people can pay for it. They get to choose what they want to spend their money on. And if somebody is that's just how it is. It's not the end of the world, right? We still have alternate versions of Snow White and all of that stuff. See Disney, see Fables, see all of these things, because we have that ability to take things and reimagine them, and once control has absolute. But
if the Hans Christian Andersen Corporation that existed for 200 years was still putting out original stuff, would you want that?
If Hans Christian Andersen was still relevant, then I don't know. No, I don't want.
Is it not?
Stuff.
Is it not?
I don't know.
I mean, these are a tale as old as time, as they say. We're going to move on to something better. Kevin's ready. Yeah. Kevin, we can officially take one thing. We can take one thing off the list. We can finally. Every year we have a poll of what is of all these least likely things, what is the most likely to happen in this calendar year? Kevin, we can finally remove the Ayer cut because he is officially done with DC. David Ayer says he's dropping the Ayer cut. No more. He is done completely. There will be no more Ayer cut stuff coming. So finally, we can take this one off and not have to worry about it anymore. Sorry, everyone that wanted the Ayer cut. It's done. It's done.
I think as much as I truly detest that movie, I think the theatrical version, I think it would have been super interesting to see that cut.
See what he did. Well, Kevin, if you wait 95 years, we can get the public domain release of the Ayer cut. So start your calendar. Right. Start your calendar now. Okay.
Yep. All of us will be in tip-top shape to do some film editing in 95 years.
I'll get my head in the Futurama jar, and we'll see. I'll see you at the theater. So it's a date. Last story I wanted to cover, just because there's apparently still comic books being made into TV shows and movies. They haven't learned their lesson yet, but apparently some of these are still happening. I saw some story today. I didn't read the article. I wasn't going to click into it, but a rumor that Ironheart might get Batgirled, like just completely off the list of Marvel productions. So that'll be interesting if that happens. No, Ed Brubaker's Criminal. Sorry, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips' Criminal. How dare you? Every headline on the internet. Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips' Criminal is ordered series by Amazon. So we're getting a criminal TV show from Amazon. That's cool. That seems well lined up for it seems like those will translate well to hour-long television episodes.
Yeah, no.
And
I have not read the criminal stuff. It's those 3 like hardcovers I need to buy.
Yeah, I read the early stuff. I haven't read the later volumes. I've read the first volume.
But like,
so
his
what
stuff
would be
great.
considered the first?
Like,
yeah.
All of their stuff has been really, really amazing. Like, and so to me, it's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
I'll wait until it's all one thing and then pay the $3 for 1 month of no ads because Amazon can fuck off.
Amazon. You heard it here, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. You're getting your 1/millionth of 1 cent from Brock for 1 month. So start counting those pennies.
Did anybody watch that Too Old to Die Young show that Ed Brubaker on?
No, he was he was a writer on, right?
I think he was a co-creator.
I didn't see it.
Yeah,
was he?
It was him and Nicholas Winding Refn, right? I think that's an Amazon show. Too Old to Die Young. Well, anyway, I'm only bringing it up because
did he? Oh yeah, he wrote it. Did he co-create it too? I've heard of this, but I didn't realize he's an executive producer on it as well.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
No, I heard about this, but I never saw it. I knew he was involved, but
well, if anybody wants to wet their beak with some Brubaker visual content, that is a show unlike any other show that is streaming right now.
Okay.
I'm not
a couple years ago,
I'm
right?
not going to say it's great because it's a very, very specific flavor that you couldn't just blindly recommend to anybody you know. But yes, anybody wants an interesting show who hasn't checked that out, maybe dip in the first episode, see what you think.
Yeah. Brubaker seems to be kind of the one name that's transitioned to Hollywood pretty well. I don't know if there's any word on the Batman animated series stuff. That seems to be I haven't heard anything about that, but it's been a handful of people that have done it, but I feel like he's been maybe, I don't know, a little more successful. We'll see. I don't know. I don't even think they gave a date. I mean, it's probably 2025 at the earliest, right? I mean, it would be 2026 at the earliest. It couldn't be anytime soon.
We have to be happy for Ed and Sean in getting that Hollywood money.
I love anytime. I'm always down to take some of these indie comics, because there has been a bunch that I had like. Was there a Warrior Nun Ariella comic show that went on for like 2 seasons?
Yep. It was Netflix.
There was there was American Born Chinese got axed after 1 season at Disney. I didn't hear anything about that. Just dropped and gone. But I know like that Warrior Nun series actually had like some fans, which is very weird. There's been a couple other like really random comics that got made into shows recently. What was it? I was looking at a list the other day, and I was
Warrior Nun has 2 seasons.
What's that?
Warrior Nun has 2 seasons now.
Yeah. No, because the American Born Chinese got dropped after 1. Warrior Nun has 2, and then it got axed. But
is it axed?
There's like big fan campaigns to bring it back. Yeah, it somehow got like a real. I don't know how much. I don't
think it was very close to the comic.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with the comic.
No,
I'm sure they just probably picked the name.
It takes some aspects of the comic.
Yeah, I mean, barely, right?
No, the comic is written from. It has the monkey itself storyline right, and then it has
I've never seen the show, so I have no idea what they did with it. I probably read issue number 1, but I don't.
I've read the whole thing.
It was a trade, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a graphic novel. It was an OGN.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
OGN.
Issue.
What?
Yeah.
Maybe you're thinking of the wrong thing.
No, it's the Jin Yang thing.
You're talking about American-born Chinese.
Yes.
Yes.
I was talking about Warrior Nun,
Oh.
not American-born Chinese.
Yeah, no.
Yes, we're talking about two very different things.
We're talking about the same thing, but we're on two different topics. So
Yes,
the
yes,
American-born
yes.
Chinese, I think it follows the real life stuff in the show. It just doesn't do the metaphysical, mythological stuff about the Monkey King and all that stuff. Or if it does in a more cartoonish way. I don't know. I didn't watch the show itself. But from what I saw, the trailer, it seemed to be just the kind of like the real life stuff and then the stuff he imagines. Right.
What?
Like he imagines himself being a certain way.
No.
In the show?
No.
What happens in the show?
His buddy is like the son of the Monkey King.
Oh, they combine. They. I don't know.
I have no idea. I've never read it, never seen the show. I don't know anything about it.
Three
So
different pathways in the story. Like, there's three different things going on in the graphic novel. So if they blended them together, they blended them together. But I haven't seen that part. So
anyway, I was trying to
You know
think.
what's just sitting there? If I had the cash lying around, I would swoop in and try to get the rights to this. It's just sitting there. Your first 5 seasons are laid out for you in their entirety. The budget would be completely manageable. Even if you only did 1 or 2 seasons, it's right there for you. How has nobody swooped in on it? Stray Bullets.
Oh yeah. Oh, so good.
I mean,
I love it.
It would translate perfectly to a
Yeah.
Well, they're still working on the old guard too.
yeah, they're still supposed to come out with more Old Guard.
Are they actually?
Yeah,
Don't they do the movie? Right? Wasn't there a?
there's supposed to be a
movie on
second coming.
Yeah. I never saw it.
Oh, it was good.
Yeah, no,
Was
Old
it-
Guard was really good.
Yeah, I didn't hear much about it. Yeah. We'll see. See what else is coming. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else for coming up.
We did that
No, I
live
haven't seen
action
anything else
Steamboat
announced
Willie
for-
show.
I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah.
Look forward to the 2 horror movies and the video game coming. I can't wait. It's gonna be
I think Jungle Cruise meets Hearts of Darkness.
wonderful. I'm sure it'll change the world.
Hey man, that
Yep.
Winnie the Pooh horror movie looks so bad.
Yep.
And there's going to be a Steamboat Willie one, and I'm like, all right, line them up.
Yeah. The public domain horror con artist cinematic universe. So that's your new cinematic universe.
People
to look
do
forward
understand that Steamboat Willie public domain is Steamboat Willie. Like, you can't have your Mickey Mouse like off having adventures. It's on that boat.
to. Well, what's weird, right? Because Plane Crazy was made first, but came out
Right.
second. Steamboat Willie was made second, but came out first. It is still Mickey Mouse. I wonder the specific difference. I'm assuming you can call him Mickey Mouse because it is that character. He has all sorts of, he's the apprentice, all right, the wizard, all these. They're all still Mickey Mouse. I'm assuming it would have to just be black and white, and he would just have to look like him in that cartoon. But yeah, so it's a weird. Yeah, it's funky. Yeah, I don't know how they work around it. But yeah, I'm okay. Galbi Gaucho will be next. We'll do that soon. That'll be soon. Great. I'm sure they'll do wonderful things with all these fantastic characters. Anyway.
They could.
Thank you all. Thank you all for this wonderful
that note-
podcast about terrible stuff. Yeah, and we're done. Another great normal episode of the Comic Conspiracy. Corporate bootlickers. That's me. I love my corporations. Hey, they're people too, my friends. Okay.
Subscribe to everything, never cancel.
That's me.
Yep.
That's me. Although at the rate I'm going to, I won't have to cancel. They can cancel them all themselves. So all my streaming services are going to merge into one
It'll
streaming
be just like
service.
something
and then-
called maybe like cable TV.
Yeah, and then we'll just merge in with Comcast, and I'll be like, "Oh, cool! It's not to change anything. Still, it's all just one payment."
But that payment is $100 now.
You want to make something good? You want to make something good? Watch Fargo. You want to watch something good? Watch The Curse, Kevin. When you watch it,
I hear you.
you talk to
I hear
me.
you. Yep.
Don't look up anything.
I'm not. No.
Watch The
it's-
Curse.
I'm spoiler lockdown on that. But Fargo is fantastic. And there's a great idea. There's a great example of taking another idea and making it your own thing. Since the Coens have their names on the show but have no actual involvement in the show, that's a great example of not just slavishly following, oh, here's exactly the Fargo. I'm going to just present my version of Fargo. It's a whole different thing with just a little bit of the DNA.
Yeah, that's what I want to see more of. Give me more of that. Yeah. Oh, the season of Fargo has been so good. Yeah, last episode's on tomorrow. Yeah, can't wait. Thank you all. Thank you for all our high tier. Thank you to all our high tier Patreon backers. Edward at geekyvillain.com, Joe Duff, Kelsey May, Craig Anderson at the Executive Evolution Podcast, and Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum Podcast. Thank you all very much for your continued support. Patreon.com/Comic Conspiracy. If you go to comicconspiracypodcast.com or Apple Podcasts, you can find all our previous episodes. Give those a listen to if you want to catch up and hear about wonderful news and opinions from. I think we just hit 15 years in the Geek Box. I think it was like last week or this week is 15 years of the Geek Box, which means we're coming up on 12.
Nope, 13
in
March
of the Comic Conspiracy.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
I will always remember it because 2 months later, my son was born.
I have a Facebook post that was like, I might be doing a podcast from like 2009. It comes up on my feed every year, and I'm like, oh, if only I knew what that would lead to. If only I knew.
I wonder what the over-under would be on number of wrong predictions that have been uttered since that first episode.
Oh, shit, this episode alone, like, come on. If you want to start a record and go back to the beginning of the Comic Conspiracy and tell us everything that we got just like plain wrong, I would do a segment on that every week. You kidding me? Every week you send me.
Funny.
It's funny because people will be like, remember when you said this on last week's episode? And I'm like, nope, I have no memory of saying this. The second I hit stop, I forget the entire podcast we just recorded. So if you want to tell me what I said 12 years ago, I'm it's sure it's terrible. I'm sure it's awful. Like, I would love to hear it. I'd love to know what I said.
Ryan is not lying about that. It'd be 5 minutes and he would have forgotten what he said.
Oh, I forget everything. I forget immediately. That's what the recording's for. The recording remembers. So if I ever need to hear it, I just go back. It just flushes my brain the second I hit pause. Head over to comicsconspiracy.biz. You can purchase some comic books from us there. And meanwhile, anthology.com. Purchase the comic book that myself and Kevin wrote and edited, and as well as Toby and Brock and Lane and all sorts of other amazing people. It's for our celebrating the 30th anniversary of Comics Conspiracy. You can pick up copies from us at the shop or from different locations linked at meanwhileanthology.com. Go to conspiratorock.com. That's Brock's website where he posts all his videos and musings. Charlie's podcast, Wanders in the Fourth Dimension. It's his. Toby does not do another podcast. Charlie's Wanders in the Fourth Dimension podcast. Our good friend Charlie, it's on here occasionally. Talks about Doctor Who. Kevin's weekly interview series called Between the Panels at fanbasepress.com. And my wife Leanne, she's at leannehill.com. You can see her artwork there, as well as purchase artwork and prints from her at etsy.com/shop/LeanneHillArt. If you're on Blue Sky, we are all on there. Ryan Higgins is me. Ryan Higgins, just that. Brock is Brock Sager. Toby's Toby XI. Kevin is that Kevin Sharp. We are all those on Twitter, except I'm Ryan Higgins Ryan. The store is Comics Con Store. If you're still using Twitter for some reason, you can follow us there. Hello. Ooh, cheese. So all this Mickey Mouse talk. I'm excited for cheese. And head over to Geekbox. We recorded a new episode last week. I think I said this. Geekbox has basically become Rand Scott talks about Star Trek: The Next Generation. So if you are a Next Gen fan and you want to hear his timely first viewing opinions of a 35-year-old show, 35? That sounds about right. Yeah. You can go over there, Geekbox. And also check out friends at Manga Nation talking about manga and anime. Okay, that's it. We're done for this week. Goodbye.